Hello, my name is Emma, and I'm your badly lit, bad angle, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, here to talk about the books I read in February. So I'm trying to be consistent with some content on this channel, and that's really just doing wrap-ups every month and just figuring out what I want to do the rest of the time. But wrap-ups are my mainstay. You're going to see them every month, unless I read a book I really hate or really love, and then I'll do a review. But we haven't really gotten there yet, although one came close this month. Anyway, I read 4 books this month, which feels pretty good. I'm 5 days into March, and I have not finished a single book, so probably not going to do as well. Meanwhile, there are booktubers who've read like 50 books this month. I'm not one of them. Okay, let's just get into it. The first book I read this month was Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. I read this at the beginning of the month when I was at a conference. So it was like a spicy read to read while you're at like a technical conference. This was really cute. I'm sure you know what it's about. It's like a acquaintances to friends to lovers romance by America's favorite writing duo. And it was really cute. I really liked Hazel. She felt relatable, yet she wasn't a manic pixie dream girl. Like, she was like quirky, but not like quirky. She wasn't adorable. She was just kind of a nut, and I liked that a lot about her. A lot of relatable moments in this book with her. A lot of moments where she's like, I'm choosing to love myself, and I don't feel like I need to change for other people to love me. I was like, that's good. I like Josh. He was sort of like a hard guy in terms of he was very moral, and he had very hard set beliefs. Yeah, he was very flexible and open-hearted. And I thought that was a sweet match, and I enjoyed their romance. I gave this book 5 stars because genuinely when I read it, I really loved it. I don't remember it super well. In retrospect, it was very much like I really loved it, but it's not a favorite. I enjoyed reading it. The ending was just bizarre. If you guys have thoughts about the ending and you've read it, or you don't have thoughts about the wedding, it's Tuesday. It's Thursday, woman. If you have thoughts about the ending and you've read it, but even if you haven't read it, let me know. So, all in all, fairly good start to the month. And then I read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a very beloved book, and for good reason. I listened to an audiobook. It was fantastic. I'm sure you know what it's about, but basically, it's about a young woman sharing her life and her struggles with her family and religion and race and body issues and sexuality and romance through the use of poetry. And it was beautiful. I think poetry, unfortunately, in this day and age can come across as kind of contrite or contrived, or any sort of form of that word. But this is a really powerful book, and I really enjoyed it. I would encourage you to read Own Voices reviews if you want to get a better understanding of the powerfulness of this book. But in general, I'd say I really loved it, and it made me cry. It made me feel lots of emotions. It was a very human experience while also being a very specific experience that needs to be told, and I really loved it. And I would give it a big happy 5 stars. That's 2 5-star books already. Oh, though, the end of this month, specifically the next book I'm going to talk about, 99% Mine by Sally Thorn. I feel like everyone has read this book already because everyone loved The Hating Game. I love The Hating Game. Not a perfect book, but a book I really enjoyed. And it was a book that I enjoyed, and I just kept thinking about it after I read it, which is kind of a rarity for me with books that are a little more just purely hedonic. And that was a very hedonic experience that I also just found very meaningful. Oh god, I sounded like a little pretentious little lady. Anyway, 99% Mine, her second book. It's about basically childhood friends who fall in love. And okay, my problems with 99% Mine. The writing is weak. It feels really disconnected. It feels a little bit odd. The problems that I didn't have, though, with the writing was I wasn't bothered by the main character. I know a lot of people really didn't like the main character. They found her really crass or really like annoying, but I like understood what Sally Thorne I think was trying to do with that character. She was trying to write a female character who's afraid of commitment, who's a little bit scary, and she did, I think, a decent job of this, but I just still didn't really care that much, and maybe she didn't do that great of a job. I got her point, but didn't still super enjoy it. But she's juxtaposed with this like soft boy, kind of masculine soft boy, and it's fine. Like when they had kind of chemistry, like it was good, the writing was good, but just like their day-to-day interactions, if you will, were kind of boring. I do think she wrote the place really well. Like I could kind of feel the setting and the place in her writing, but beyond that, I could not feel their relationship always. The ending was very rushed and very oddly paced, and what the main male character does doesn't make sense for his character. I feel like it was really regrettable. I didn't really care about the relationship. Like I got the physical book. I read the Hating Game kind of epilogue, which I really loved, but I did not care about 99% Mine, so I didn't read that epilogue. I know there are people who really enjoy this, but I just did not feel that vibe, which is okay. And then, okay, Pride. This is by E.B. Zaboy. This is a Pride and Prejudice remix, retelling. And it's basically a modern day Pride and Prejudice. It's YA. It's set in Brooklyn. It features a really diverse set of characters. I really loved it. I listened to an audio, and Elizabeth Acevedo was the audiobook narrator, so I listened to it right after I listened to the Poet X, because she did her own audiobook narration for that, so it felt very seamless. I felt like it was in the same universe in some ways. I think Pride is incredibly good retelling. It feels very true to the original work, which is a book that's beloved. It's a book that I still really love and a story that I really love. I really enjoyed this a lot, and it's a book that I think the more that I think about it, the more I like it. At the time, I think I gave it like 3.5 stars because certain elements I felt were odd, mostly the chemistry between Zuri and Darius, the Darcy Elizabeth equivalents. I feel like their chemistry sometimes wasn't great, but I in general really enjoyed it, and I do think it has grown on me. I rewatched Pride and Prejudice the other day, the 2005 version, and it just felt like the book did such an immaculate job of modernizing the story. It's a really good retelling, and I hope someone writes a big, heady, nice paper about the book one day, because that's what I kept thinking about. Like, this would make it a really great paper. Also, would encourage you to read Own Voice's reviews of this book about the representation and dive into that if you can. Or you just should if you're interested in reading this book or you're just interested about the book. But in general, I really liked it a lot. Then I listened to an audiobook, and like I said, Elizabeth Acevedo is a great narrator. I think for me, I have trouble with audiobook narrations that are involving a lot of characters. Although this is, I think, first person throughout the whole thing. Romance for me is really hard to do well on audio sometimes. Like, I feel like it can be very hit or miss. Like, I found that with What If It's Us had like a very odd sort of dynamic, and I felt that maybe is why I didn't like the chemistry as much. And it really has nothing to do with Elizabeth Acevedo or the writing. It's just personally, I don't think the format always works super great for that. I could be wrong. It could just be a personal preference, or I just didn't vibe the chemistry. But that's just kind of a thought process that I had about it. Anyway, those are the books I read in February, and I overall really enjoyed my reading month. And let me know if you have any thoughts about those books. I really just want to upload this and not have to put pictures of the books I read, because all of them are kind of famous, so I don't think I'm going to, but I still probably might.
You did. Good job.
Anyway, have a lovely day.